Ahoy there, listeners, and welcome back to Tell Me More Stories Told Us podcast.
I just love a good sea yarn. And today, well, we've got a whole fleet of them tied to a single name, the USS Indianapolis. Now, you've probably heard of the famous World War II cruiser. But get this, there have actually been 4 U.S. Navy ships christened with that very name.
Yeah, that's right, and it's really quite fascinating. You know how these ships, spanning from World War I all the way to the present day, they really chart the course of, naval evolution. It's really remarkable.
So we've got sources on all 4 ships. Where do we even begin? I mean, a cargo ship, a cruiser, a submarine, and then a littoral combat ship. It's a lot to cover.
Chronologically, I think our journey has to start back in 1918. With a cargo ship, simply designated ID 3865, it was commissioned right as the Great War was winding down.
A cargo ship. Not quite the image that comes to mind when you think USS Indianapolis. What was its story? Why isn't it even significant? Well, you see, it offers us like a glimpse into a pivotal moment in naval history. Navies at that time were transitioning from coal to oil-powered vessels, and this cargo ship, though decommissioned just a year later, it played a vital role in that very shift.
Okay, so from the workhorse of World War I, what comes next in our USS Indianapolis timeline?
In 1932, the name USS Indianapolis was bestowed upon a heavy cruiser, designated CA-35. Now, this is the one that really made history, though tragically, its story is also one of profound loss.
Yeah, this is the ship, if I'm not mistaken, that delivered parts for the atomic bomb
That's right.
and then met a devastating end in the closing days of World War II.
Exactly. The heavy cruiser's story is, it's really a potent reminder of the sacrifices of war and the bravery of, those who served.
It even captured the public imagination, inspiring that 2016 film, USS Indianapolis. Men of Courage, starring Nicolas Cage.
Right, though it's worth noting that Hollywood, sometimes takes a few liberties with historical accuracy.
Always good to remember. But moving on from World War II, the Cold War brought a whole new era of naval technology, and with it, another USS Indianapolis. This time, a nuclear-powered attack submarine, SSN-697, entered service in 1980.
Talk about a change of pace. Submarines represent like this dramatic shift in naval warfare, emphasizing, stealth and underwater combat. This USS Indianapolis, it patrolled the depths for nearly 2 decades, playing a crucial role in, the nuclear deterrent strategy of the Cold War.
And nuclear power meant this sub could stay submerged for, months at a time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That must have been a game changer in terms of strategic capability.
Absolutely. It gave the U.S. Navy a very significant advantage in the undersea realm.
Before we surface from the depths of this deep dive, I have to remind you to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss more fascinating stories like this one on Tell Me More. But now let's fast forward to 2019, and we have a littoral combat ship, LCS-17, taking on the mantle of the USS Indianapolis. That seems like a very different type of ship from all the others, really.
It is, you're right. Littoral combat ships are designed for operations closer to shore, supporting missions like mine countermeasures and anti-submarine warfare in, shallower waters.
So what does this ship tell us? I mean, from global conflicts to more localized threats, it seems like the Navy has had to constantly adapt, hasn't it?
Precisely. You can see how the role of the USS Indianapolis evolved alongside, these changing needs, from logistical support in World War I with the cargo ship, to a symbol of naval power projection with the heavy cruiser in World War II, and then to the stealth and deterrence of the Cold War submarine. And now with the littoral combat ship, it's about responding to, a more diverse range of threats in a complex geopolitical landscape, I'd say.
It's fascinating how a single name can represent such a dynamic story of technological advancement and, changing priorities. But speaking of stories, did you cover any particularly interesting anecdotes or facts during your research?
Well, one thing that really struck me was a detail about the heavy cruiser, CA-35. After delivering those crucial components for the atomic bomb, the ship was actually en route to the Philippines for training when it was tragically sunk.
You're kidding. So this ship, so instrumental in ending the war, didn't even get to see its mission through to the very end?
Sadly, no, and to make matters even worse, due to a communication error, the Navy wasn't even aware the ship was missing. For several days, many of the sailors who survived the initial sinking perished at sea, just awaiting rescue.
That's a sobering reminder of the human cost of war. And it adds another layer of tragedy to the story of the heavy cruiser. So we've explored the unique history of each USS Indianapolis, but what does it all mean in the bigger picture?
I think it highlights the enduring legacy of this name. It's more than just like a series of ships. It represents, I think, the evolution of naval power, the changing face of conflict, and the dedication of the sailors who served aboard, these vessels.
And it makes you wonder, what might the future hold for the name USS Indianapolis? What kind of ship might carry that legacy into, say, the 22nd century? That's something for you to ponder. Thanks for diving deep with us today on Tell Me More Stories Told This podcast. Until next time, fair winds and following seas.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.